All right, today we're going to do a quick review of transformations. All right, now the variables, or I should say the letters we used. So let's say we had a parent function, f of x. This is the parent. The transformed function was a times this f of x, but it was x minus h plus k. So h was always tied to the x. K was added on the back side. A was multiplied in front. We actually also took this function and we talked about the b, which we'll discuss in a second. And it was 1 over b x minus h plus k. So let's talk about what these meant, what transformations occurred. So A was a vertical stretch or shrink, right? Vertical stretch or shrink. Now B, the absolute value of B, if it was greater than 1, it was a vertical stretch, right? If it was between 0 and 1, it was a vertical shrink. Now the sign of A was very important. So if A was negative, that meant that the parent graph was reflected over the x-axis. All right, so that was A. B had to do with horizontal stretch or shrink. All right, well, that should be an A there, shouldn't it? I'm sorry. So B was horizontal stretch or shrink. So if B was greater than 1, it was a horizontal stretch. If B was between 0 and 1, it was a horizontal shrink. And then the sign of B. If B was negative, the parent graph was reflected over the y-axis, right? Then H was our horizontal shift, right? K was any vertical shift. So when we were describing transformations, let's do our general one again up here. A, and then f of 1 over b x minus h plus k. So A. So if A was negative, we had 6 things. Remember, there were 6 things. If A was negative, it was a reflection. 2 was whatever A was told us whether it was a vertical stretch or shrink. Then we considered B. If B was negative, this is a reflection over the x, it was a reflection over the y-axis, right? And then number 4 talked about the value of B, absolute value of B, was if it was a horizontal stretch or shrink. Five said, what was H? H was a horizontal shift, right? Or movement. And 6 was what was, if H wasn't equal to 0, there was a horizontal shift. Then 6 is if K wasn't equal to 0, there was a vertical shift of that parent. Right? So these are the things we talked about. Now, currently in chapter 13, we're working with exponential functions. Now, looks like this. A times, now our B in here is a little confusing because the B's the base. Oops, sorry about that. So when we talk about transformations with these exponential functions, we don't worry about the B when they talk about horizontal stretch or shrink. We're only concerned about A, H, and K. But they apply the same as they did here, right? All right. What's important with A, H, and K when we do these exponentials is that you're using them with the reference points, right? So when we did exponential growth,